Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stacylynn McGovern and I am a Gen Xer, and today on the podcast we're going to be talking about music. I have these drumsticks in my hand because I'm cleaning up the studio in my basement. This is just part of the set here, but this is a functioning basement where my husband and I practice, where he rehearses with his band, and music has been a huge influence in my life. I know it's been an influence in everybody's life, at least anybody that I hang out with. The best relationships and the best fun and the best stuff that's ever happened to me has been because of music. So I have been a huge lover of all kinds of music ever since I was a kid. My parents are super musical. My dad's a banjo player. They tried to get me to play guitar, but I wouldn't practice. Act surprised. So my poor parents, as much as I wanted to play, and I always sung around the house. We had such a good time. And in my youth, in the 70s, the stuff that was popular, my parents were kind of folkies because they were a little bit older. They were 60s generation. They're in their 90s now. But in the 70s, they were super into, stuff like Gordon Lightfoot, the Mamas and the Papas. I mean, I knew how to sing those harmonies when I was a kid. I would sing them with my dad. But they liked the Beach Boys. They weren't really too much into the Beatles. But when you're a kid, especially our generation, unless you had an older brother or sister, you really had to find music on your own. You discovered it through other people. And in one of my other podcasts, we talked about how our generation, we went into record stores. So I grew up in a little town outside of Boston, Massachusetts, called Waltham. And it's a little suburb about maybe 4 to 6 miles outside of Boston. And we were still close to the city, so we could access fun stuff. And I'm looking at my hair. I don't know what it's doing. I didn't even mean to, dress like 80s today, but here I am. This is me after I worked out. So good luck to you. But yeah, so I remember, it was the social thing. On Saturday, you'd go down to the local record store and you'd hang out and you'd meet people. And sometimes there was like older kids there, or, you'd see, some of my girlfriends would be there with their older brothers because they drove. And it was the way we socialized, right? It was the way we met people. You would start to gravitate towards other people that listened to the same music as you, and you would totally judge them like, oh, the music's stupid. Oh, I hate that stuff. It's too loud. But I was very much into, in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, when I started going into junior high, I loved like the hard rock stuff, but it wasn't really cool at the time. Ladies, be aware, listen closely. If you liked a certain kind of music, you were, profiled, right? You were profiled as a druggie. You were profiled as a preppy. You were profiled as a goody-goody. Like all those groups and stuff that they made fun of in the 80s movies, they were real. And I went to a huge high school. I think my graduating class, we had like 1,200 people in 1987. Yes, class of 87. Waltham High School, class of 87. Love you. I hope you're watching. But that's how you found out about new music. You go to the record store. Like, what posters did they hang up this week? And the way that they decorated the record stores was so cool. You would just hope that at the end of the week you'd find one of those posters in the trash, and you'd go to someone's house and you say, oh, where'd you get that poster? It's like, Strawberries, man, it was in the barrel. Like, that's the stuff that we did. That's the stuff that made us feel good. So music has always made me feel a certain way. I'm super connected to it. And that stuff that's playing in the background is kind of like the soundtrack to your life. So the decade that I grew up in, the late 70s and the early 80s, I was a teenager all through the 80s. I mean, we really were party to some good music, right? I mean, there was some shitty music too, but I think that's every decade. But the 80s were just different, weren't they? They really were. I mean, I hear certain songs and I'm sure this goes for everybody else. You have certain songs that evoke a memory. And a lot of the music that my husband and I do in our set, I keep hitting my microphone. My husband yells at me when he edits these. He says, stop being Italian, so I'm going to try to stop doing that. Use my hands. So songs evoke memories, right? They can evoke happy memories. They can evoke sad memories. And, we've been through a lot at Gen X, right? We're in our 50s now, older, I'm 57. There's stuff that you've been through, and the music helps to get you through it, right? Like I can tell you right now what I was listening to, 40 years ago this month. It was the summer of my junior year. I was going to be a senior in high school. It was my last year, and I remember exactly what I was listening to. I was listening to Journey. That was a huge one because that Escape album had come out, I think it was like 82 or 83. I was listening to Y&T. Oh, that was a huge one. I was listening to, I don't know if Bon Jovi hadn't, I don't think it's come out yet, but I wasn't really into Bon Jovi. Sorry, don't shoot me. But I liked a lot of local music. When I was growing up, WBCN was a huge radio station here in the Boston area. And it was really the soundtrack to a lot of our lives. We had so much great music come out of this area. It was just a special time. I mean, we had Aerosmith, we had the Cars, Jon Butcher Axis, who I just went to see the other night. And let me tell you, what an amazing show he put on. It was just so great. It literally took me right back to 1983. Such good music, but that's what music does, right? It puts you, it sets your frame of mind. It's always been able to fix me when I'm not doing good, or I've been depressed, or I've been sad, or if I need to get my energy out, during a workout. There's certain songs that you listen to. But yeah, we were really, when I grew up, the Boston music scene was huge. There was so many good bands that came out of this era. I was a huge Cars fan. And I remember where I grew up, Ben Orr lived in one of the apartment complexes. I grew up in Waltham, and he lived in, I think it was Lexington. They had built these beautiful, gorgeous apartment condos on a golf course that was no longer a golf course. And I remember I was with my dad. It was on a Friday night, and we were shopping. And this guy comes in, and he looks like he's from outer space. And I immediately knew he had the blonde, shaggy hair. And he had on this cool furry vest. Like, it's probably like 1982, 83, right? It's, the height of the Cars, right? He's doing his grocery shopping. So it's Ben Orr. And I'm looking to him, and like my jaw dropped. And my dad was like, "What's wrong?" And I couldn't say anything. And I just watched him buy his vegetables and watched him. And he had on these cool boots too. They were like these huge boots. But I was so like in awe that this guy was, he was just doing normal thing. He was doing grocery shopping on a Friday night. But I'll never forget that because he lived nearby. But music has that effect on us, right? And the show that I just went to see Jon Butcher, it was so amazing. Jon Butcher Axis. I just remember listening to that song, Life Takes a Life, It's Only Words, If Wishes Were Horses. I mean, when he sang Wishes Are Horses the other night, it was so emotional because the words to that song, when you're 16 and you hear a song, you just love it for the beat. And then when you're 57, it's a whole different ball game. You understand why the person wrote that song. And music has just always been so influential in my life. Like I say, it's the best times I've ever had. This past June, I went to see another band from the local music scene there called the Fighting Cocks. And so good. They had a show near my house in Worcester at Ralph's Diner, famous music venue here in Worcester, Massachusetts, Ralph's Rock Diner. What a great show. I went with one of my best friends, and it was literally like I was back in the 90s. It was 1994. We were going to the Channel. We were going to the Rat. We used to hang out at all the places that people talk about in Boston that are no longer there. we hung out in those places and we had so much fun. And it wasn't about the drinking. It wasn't about anything but the music. It was about hanging out with people that were like-minded, that were musicians. I've always hung out with musicians. I've always had musicians as good friend. I vowed I would never be in a relationship with one. And yet here I am, married to a guitarist. But the musicians, when we were younger in our 20s and in our late teens, they were a little different. You know, none of them worked. They slept all day. They drank all night, and they never had any money. So I kind of had said to myself, I'm not ever going to be with anybody like that. But self-fulfilling prophecy, friends, say you're not going to do something and it ends up that way. But music, again, such a huge influence in my life. What else did I listen to? I've always listened to Blondie. I love Blondie. I mean, she's still going. She's in her 80s. A little, she's a little political, but I guess, some musicians can be, and that's their right. That's their right in this country. That's what makes us so lucky here in the United States. But the music that we do, we get a lot of requests, and I love that. When people come up to us, they say, oh, can you play this song? Or they'll comment on a song that I did, and everybody usually says the same thing. It took me right back to, my prom, or, oh, it took me right back to, a first date. And, music is just great. It's this mysterious, ethereal thing that comes from somewhere else, that moves through us, moves through our bodies, makes us dance, makes us think. It's provoking. I just love music. I can't say it enough. And so I've been doing this little thing at the end of my podcast called Album or Record of the Week. I don't actually have the record because it's buried somewhere. I went and looked for it today. But if you get a chance, listen to Jon Butcher Axis, okay? He's still going strong. He's got to be upwards of
71.
But his voice sounded so clear, so strong, and so perfect. It has not changed. And we're all getting older, right? But the music will always take you back to a memory, to a time, and it makes you very nostalgic, right? Anytime I listen to stuff from the 80s, I think, oh my God, I can't believe I'm 57. And the new music, there's so much good music out there. You don't have to just listen to older music. There's great stuff. I'm always trying to check out new bands, and especially, younger people. I love that younger people who weren't even born in the 80s or even the 90s or even the 2000s, they love the 80s music. I can't tell you how many young people come up and they sing with me when I sing certain things. I sing this song, Reminiscing by, I think, is it the Little River Band? I forget. I don't even know who sings it. But it's a great song. And I'll see people in the audience singing it. And, like they weren't even born. Maybe some of their parents weren't even born. But music is great. If you're in a bad mood, I always say, listen to the stuff that you were listening to when you were younger. Get back in touch with the music you listened to as a teenager, because it really can shift your mindset. It can shift your mood. It can be a complete game changer, because it has been for me. Anytime I have been in a not so great place, and there's been plenty of those times, I find the music that makes me feel good, and it puts me back on track. It puts me, and singing it too, you don't have to know how to sing, okay? I mean, I guess for the people around you, it's going to affect them, but if you're by yourself, sing it out, because it feels really good. You're using, your breath, you're using your body, you're shifting the chemicals in your body when you're doing things that make you happy. So if singing does that for you, please do it. It's just so good for you. So record of the week, record of the day, Jon Butcher Axis. Check him out. I know he's on Spotify, but listen to If Wishes Were Horses and Dreamers Would Fly. Thanks for joining me again today. We'll talk to you soon. And please put in the comments any subjects that you'd like to talk about. I'd love to hear from you, okay? Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.